As two practicing physician assistants, we've seen a lot and we've heard a lot. We know that you've heard a lot too. We are here to help you navigate through the BS by having open and honest conversations with other practicing professionals. I'm Heidi.
And I'm Cassie, and welcome to Mindfully Woman.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Mindfully Woman. Today we're keeping it casual, real casual today, and we are going to be talking about personal stuff again.
Yes.
We are going to actually be talking about children and desires to have kids. That I think is a big topic, especially if you're married, which we are both married.
Yep.
We're both in our 30s to show our age.
Yep.
And that's a question we get all the time is, when are you having kids?
Yeah. I hear it from family, friends, patients. A lot of patients ask, you're married? Oh, how long have you been married? Oh, when are you having kids? And I don't think it comes from a place of, I don't know, judgment per se, but just like a way to connect.
Yeah.
And kind of feel out where you're at in life.
Family life.
Yeah.
Relationships, all that stuff. And it's very personal. I mean, people choose to have kids.
It is very personal.
And they choose not to have kids. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with either way. But it is a conversation me and Cassie have all the time.
Yes.
And I think we're both on completely different spectrums.
We are on different spectrums. Yeah, and to throw out there, or even if you decide to have children and then you aren't able to have children, or you have gone through the whole process, so with IUI and infertility treatments or IVF treatments, and still not able to have a baby after that as well. Yeah. So sometimes it is, a lot more personal than maybe what some people intend it to be, and yeah, it can really open a can of worms.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know personally, I am on Team Child, so I do want kids. I have felt that way for a long time, but I've put it off for quite a long time. I think that's like another hard thing too about where we are in like our generation and life right now.
Agreed.
I feel like I've been just always very like goal oriented. Like I've got to get through undergrad. I want to get through grad school. I want to get started in my career. Then I want to get married. And then kids will come eventually. But I always knew like it would come eventually. And I've always wanted to be a mom. Like it's been like deep seated in my heart for a long time. But for some reason, and I'll probably kick myself like later down the road for putting it off, I've always just kind of wanted to reach these things first before I got there.
Yeah. So was it like, were you like as a child, did you always know like you wanted to be a mom? Or is that like way too early? Was it more like when you got older and sort of more understood what it meant to be a mom?
I feel like it was when I got older. Honestly, it was probably more like college age. High school, like I've always like, I mean, I've always feel like I've always been a caring person, and I've like to take care of things. And I love kids. Yeah, I love kids that are related to me.
I hope so.
I could tell them what to do or not to do. But my sisters becoming moms was like a huge thing for me. It's like, oh my gosh, I love these kids so much, and like would do anything for any of my niece or nephews or really any child that would be in need, of course. But I just like had this like deep love and desire for them, and I've loved watching them grow, and I've always like felt it since then. Like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine then the type of love I'll have as a mom and a mother, and like caring for kids and having kids, and just caring for something that's like bigger than me and like bigger than life.
Right. Right. It's like that becomes like your ultimate responsibility. I feel like I always see like the saying like your heart lives outside your body. Yeah. Essentially. Yeah. But
I know it's going to be so scary too. Like I know it's a huge commitment. It's a, I don't want to say like a sacrifice, but like you are giving away, just your ability of not having to care for something 24/7 to like, you are responsible for this life for the rest of your life. And I know it's going to be a worry, and you're always going to worry about your kids and have to take care of them and all this stuff. But I just, have this desire to make something more of my life and to grow a family and generations and give something to my kids and things like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I know someone who said that they, ultimately, once they decided that they wanted to have kids, it's the next challenge. It's the next like step in their life.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, well you've gone through college, you have a career, you've been married for 2 years now. And so it's like just the natural or the more normal progression.
Yeah.
For and just creating a family.
Yeah. And that's just been my personal journey, but I know people, decide to do it a different way. Maybe they have kids early and then they get all these other goals done too, which is totally fine. But however way you do it is good. I've just always been on team child, having child, which is a little different than my co-host perspective.
Me.
So Cassie, what side are you on?
Don't hold me to this 100%, but I'm pretty certain. I usually say about 80% positive. I won't have a kid.
There's a 20% chance that will get you.
I'll be 31 this year. So I still have, whoa now. I still have time. But of course, as you get older, your egg quality goes down. There's higher risk of issues with pregnancy, issues with childbirth, and then also more genetic mutations for the children. And so I definitely don't take this decision lightly. It's definitely been a back and forth in my mind, probably for the past 3 years or so.
Yeah.
And I finally feel like I'm at a point now where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty certain for the most part that a child or children are not for my husband and myself. Now what we will do with our life otherwise, I don't know. I feel like there's an added pressure then. Okay, well then if you don't have children, what are you going to do? You got to do something great or really meaningful.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like one day at a time, I suppose. And
have you always felt that way? Like, have you always known more so that you think you didn't want kids, or did you battle with that a little bit?
Yeah. So short answer is no. I have never really had that gut feeling or thought of like, yeah, I definitely want to be a mom. I definitely want to have my own kids. Like, it has never been an innate instinct that that's just what I'm going to do. It's always been maybe, if we have kids, what then, and, so growing up, and maybe this can't even count really, but growing up, like I always played house. I love babies. I love playing with dolls, whatever. And then my grandma's job was being a babysitter. Mm-hmm. So there were like children there all the time. And she would rely on me and the other girl cousins to help take care of the babies. And to me, that was always being the caregiver.
Yeah.
Like in I don't want to say clinical way, but like but not in like a motherly way.
More just like, I'm going to get this job done.
I'm going to get this job done. Like, how do we get this baby to stop crying? Like, okay, we need to feed. Like, it was much more of like
a process, like a
exactly. Like, how could we figure this out? And I think honestly, I even used that scenario in like my PA school because it was very much like how can I take care of this baby in that sort of sense and
fix it and then give it back.
Fix it, give it back. I'm done with it. And I used to think I wanted to be a neonatologist, which is literally being a baby doctor.
Yeah. Baby, like infants, like
infants,
fresh,
like NICU type babies. Yes. And so I used to think I wanted to do that, but no, never really have had the strong desire to be a mom. And Alex and I, my husband and I, we have been together for like
forever.
15 years now, 15 and a half years now. So it's not like we haven't been together that long and married for 5.5. So yeah.
You guys have grown through multiple stages of life, you know?
Yeah.
Teenage years.
Exactly.
Young adult years. Now you guys are both in your 30s and like you've grown through life together too. So I think you're going to know someone pretty well in terms of how they feel and how you both are. And it helps that you are both on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. I could definitely see how being on separate pages could be really challenging because it's totally different ways of thinking about like your future and even making decisions on how to move forward with your life and making like long-term goals.
Yeah.
We're more like short-term planners, like, you know, next 5 years or so, but
That's funny.
Thankfully, Alex has also never had a strong desire or like passion to be a dad either. And so that is more, sometimes we're like, well, maybe, and it never is at the same time. It's always like
just like crisscross,
but we're never to the point where we're like, yeah, let's absolutely do it. Yeah.
That does help. I will say that is maybe also another reason why we have pushed so far too, because I know I always have, but I haven't been like ready. And I am more of a long-term goal person. Like I am like, this is my 5-year plan. This is my 10-year plan. This is my 20-year plan. Like I've got all these plans. Like shout out Grandma Sandy, because I know that you listen to all these podcast episodes.
Hello, Grandma.
Grandma Sandy will say, oh, honey, you've got everything planned all the time. You're just such a planner, which I'm actually not that organized, but I just always have plans. But my husband, on the other hand, is a very short-term thinker. He's a what is tomorrow kind of guy. He's not like he's really not even like a 1 year to 2 years. So sorry, Ross, but he is more of a short-term guy. So he wants kids, he says, but he has always been more like scared or like worried, or, you know, you have all those like fearful thoughts that come in, and it's like, oh, I just hope I'm a good dad, or I hope it's going to be okay. So definitely helps to have a partner who's on your same side.
Who's on board, and I feel like it's totally natural to have those thoughts of like, well, am I going to be a good parent? What's this world going to look like? What's it like bringing a child to this world? And especially things are just so weird right now.
They really are. But
I like to think, like, you know what? People had children during the wars.
That's what, you know, generations and generations always have their problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like during housing market crashes, and, you know, and it always, usually there's an up.
Yeah.
There's an upside to it.
I agree. And this ring on my finger was a commitment to having kids one day, because that was an ultimatum.
Was that okay? So that was a part of like,
I literally said, it was so funny.
The stipulation almost.
Yes. I remember it was literally like the week before we got engaged. And we were living together in Southern Indiana. And I was like, well, whatever happens before we ever get engaged, you just know if you put a ring on my finger, you're committing to having children.
Yeah.
And not a week later, he put a ring on my finger, and I was like,
there you go.
All right, done deal.
That conversation was had.
It's a verbal contract.
Yeah.
Yes, I always remind him of that too. Like, by the way,
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
So he does want kids. I know he does. So
yeah,
he's just been more of an onion. I just got to peel him back layer by layer.
And I feel like too, once it happens, he will like lean into it.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
he'll be a good dad.
Yeah, he'll be a great dad. And raising your children is however you make it. And you know, the people that you surround them with and like the environment you surround them with. And so I feel like it's so easy to look at other children or other families and be like, oh no, thank you. But it's totally different dynamics.
Definitely. And also I feel like both of us have grown up in different family, you know, situations, and both me and my husband's families are very close. So I am very close with my family, and I'm very close with his family, and like vice versa. We just have very big and close families. My sisters are older. They all have kids. So that's been a different dynamic for me, especially growing up, because I've been the youngest. So, you know, all through college, I've had to deal with that. Ross, on the other hand, has been the oldest boy in his family. And then he's got 3 younger brothers, so they don't have anybody else that has kids on
they
their
don't have,
side.
like, young kids. Yeah.
So that changes it
Everybody
a
else
little
goes through
bit, but like I do feel like that's also a drive for me, just to be like, oh yeah, like I want to keep growing, like also with our families and like cousins to be close, because that's been a
Yeah.
thing for us growing up too. So I just feel like it's very multifactorial, but it's also so different for people too,
Yes.
and family dynamics.
Yes.
So that changes.
Family dynamics is very interesting. Yeah. So I'm on the opposite spectrum then. Not significant by any means, but my family, or our family, in-laws and my family all live at a distance, or they live 2 hours to 3 hours away. And then hello, Hopper. And so trying to think of the easiest way to explain this. So Alex has a couple of brothers, and he's the middle child. The oldest boy has a couple of kids, and they live in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then the youngest brother is about to have his first baby. Shout out to Trevor in Virginia, due in June. So going to be getting another nephew, actually.
Yay.
And so we see them a decent amount, but it's usually like traveling to my in-laws' house, or sometimes traveling to Cleveland or whatever. And then my family, I'm the baby, but nobody has kids. And my oldest brother lives in Louisville. My middle brother lives in Austin. And so and my parents don't ever like ask or expect children from us. I suppose, like, I really think they would be shocked if we ever were like,
that's so funny.
we're gonna have kids.
But your parents also like they hang out with friends, and like they
like my parents are
have a
living
good
their
time.
best life.
Yeah.
Like they really are enjoying
they're retired.
everything.
No,
They're like partially retired. Yeah. Now they like winter in North Carolina, and they live up on the lake in the summertime. So they're having a good old time.
Yeah.
So then that to me, if that 20% ever comes true with having a kid, is like, no hate on them, but I don't expect much help from them.
Yeah.
They would definitely be the grandparents to just show up, whenever they're just like passing through or whatever. And things could totally change. Maybe they would surprise me, but just based on how they are, I don't think that they would be extremely helpful.
And do any of your brothers want kids? That you know of, I guess.
Yeah. So my middle brother, he is gay, and so it is harder for him to have a child.
Yeah.
And I have actually offered to be a surrogate for him before. And so we'll kind of see where he goes with his partner. But I think he would be a fantastic dad, and he would like a child, but I don't think his partner necessarily does. And just kind of where they're at in life, I don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. So maybe. And then my oldest brother, he's in a long-term relationship, and I think they're pretty on the fence too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they're like committed to one way. I think they're leaning more towards not having kids though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
And he's how much older than you?
he's 35.
I was gonna say, because he was like mid-30s too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a different family dynamic. And then of course, like my in-laws are great. They really help out with like my niece. Ow. Why? My niece. Stop. Okay, fine. I'll stop. They really help out with my niece and nephew. Like they FaceTime them all the time, and they're really involved. They're great. They are great grandparents.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, add to their plate or.
And you live further away.
And we live further away.
So you won't have that truly like that one-on-one help because
Exactly.
you're not like 5 minutes away from their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a bit different for me because we live in the same community that my in-laws are now. So that makes a bit of a difference as well.
For sure. Like if you needed something last minute, or like, hey, can you watch the baby real quick? Like this came up or what have you, or I'm running late at work. Could you pick them up? Or, and maybe too, like your mother-in-law, since she's not working full time anymore, like she'd be helpful with watching the kids. So
I do know that she, she's spry young lady, and she's not fully on board with thinking of herself as a grandma, but I do know she is excited to be a grandma one day.
Yeah.
And that she is very committed to wanting to help us have kids as well too. I do think she would be a really, really big part of our childcare.
And I think that's a huge part of the plan or part of the decision to take into consideration. Like, well, how much help will you have? How much of a village will you have? Of course, there's people who do it with no family around, no friends around.
Yeah.
But then you do have to figure out daycare and the cost of daycare and all of that.
Especially when you live in like bigger areas, it's a lot more expensive.
Absolutely. And then trusting a daycare and stuff. Like everybody has heard horror stories. And so, yeah, it's kind of tough. And then also too, like, is someone going to stay home? Is someone going to stay home with the kid? Is someone willing to do that? Could you financially afford it? Could you afford a nanny? I mean, it's so many things that taking into consideration. And so I give the folks credit who are just like, you know what? I want babies and let's do it. We're just going to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's what I feel.
And they work through it.
That's why sometimes I beat myself up about it, because that's how both my parents and my in-laws were. Like, my mom had 3 kids and she's like, we're going to have babies. Like, let's go. And I mean, they were working to the bone. Like, they didn't have a lot of money. They were, you know, she stayed at home a little bit to help raise kids and then worked, you know, at a dental office and stuff. And like, they weren't rich by any means, and they made it work with 3 girls, and I got everything I ever wanted in life. And same with, my husband's family. I mean, they've worked their way up, to where they are now. But I mean, she had 4 boys and she was raising 4 boys, but she always knew, like, I want to be a mom. I'm going to be a mom and start having kids at a young age. And so, yeah, like, I wish I had that personality, but I am. Gotta think this all out.
Well, now, like, all her kids are grown, and she's like, is she 50?
Yes.
She
just turned 50. She just turned 51. Shout out Jamie. Woo.
Sorry, Jamie. but
she doesn't look 50.
She looks fantastic. She is going to be a young grandma.
Yeah.
So like, she's going to be
very active,
you know, spry chicken and be able to like run around with them and stuff. And so I don't know. There's definitely perks to having children younger.
And like you said earlier, your parents have never asked you if you're going to have kids or anything.
No.
My dad asked me before I got married, when am I having kids? So
it's more the pressure from
like
your dad.
that. My niece, I was literally around my niece. We had a Mother's Day thing not too long ago. And my niece I was driving her to the park. They had a softball game, and she goes, "How old are you?" And I go, "Oh, no, I'm 30." And she's like, "Well, you better start having kids soon because you're getting old."
Dang.
But it was like in a sweet way, because she's always told me, like, when are you having kids?
Yeah.
When are you having kids? Like, I am so excited for you to have kids. And
she's the oldest.
She's the oldest. So she's like 12. Yeah, she's 12. And she's so sweet. But she's always told me, like, oh, you're going to be such a good mom. And so like, that always makes me feel good when I have
definitely
these little humans in my life that I love that also are like encouraging. And then I want my kids to be close with them.
Yeah, and that's been like a huge, almost like pressure cooker for you too. Like it is a pressure cooker to kind of get going. And of course, it'll be interesting to see, you know, down the road, like maybe looking back on this conversation to see like where things go end up, because 30, like, we're not old by any means.
We're
like,
not. But and older generations' minds were like old to have kids.
Yes.
I think too, like, some people get annoyed of the question, like, when are you having kids? I personally, like, don't think I really get that annoyed about it.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Well, I maybe get used to get annoyed about it. Like, maybe when I first got married, like, I literally got married. Like, I'm not popping anything out right now. But as I've gotten older, I don't know. I kind of find it more of like a peaceful conversation. That I actually don't really have this conversation with my family. I just say, when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You guys will find out. So sorry, sorry, family. But like, to my patients and stuff.
Yeah. How do you respond to them?
And they're not like pressure. They're not like
it's not in a rude
why don't
way.
you have kids? They're just like, do you have a family or do you have kids? And I'm like, no, not yet. But, I think we're thinking about it. And then it's just so fun to like hear their unbiased outside perspectives on like, oh, you're going to love being a mom, like this, that, and the other. And they tell me like their family stories. And I love that too, because it's like a good way to connect. And then they give me their unsolicited or solicited advice on how it is to be a mom. So
always get that. Yeah.
So, and I personally, I actually like it. I enjoy it. Like I want to know how people feel or how people think about things too. And
definitely,
it's just kind of fun to witness outside of my own family how people act, react, what they stress about, what they don't stress about.
Yeah. And like what stage of life their kids are in too, and like their relationship, if it's ongoing, if it's not ongoing. I can't say I'm quite the opposite of like I don't get annoyed by it, but I have essentially say like, no, my husband and I, nope, we don't have kids. It's just my husband and dog. And they're like, oh, okay. And then that's that. Yeah. Sometimes I do get the reply like, oh, you don't need to have kids, or like with some women who do have kids and they're like, well, yeah, I kind of wish I had that decision, or like, I love my children, but I could have been okay without children. And so it's just kind of like, oh, and that kind of like opens the door, because back then I don't think people really talked much about it. Like it was just expected. You just have children. And so I think that's really neat. Maybe a good thing about social media is like, you can find other people out there who are choosing to be quote unquote child free.
Yeah.
Or
it's that one that's like an acronym now, or like it's like dual income, no kids, or something. Dinks.
Yeah, dual income, no kids.
Got some dinks over here.
Yes. And
actually, I'm a dink, I guess, right now.
Yeah, you are a dink. And so yeah, so my dink lifestyle is nice.
Dink lifestyle. That's
and
that's
like
so funny.
husband and I, we live downtown, and we don't even get crazy. Trust me, like we're in bed by 9 p.m. No worries there. But we like to travel.
Like to go out. You like to go and do.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's Thursday night. Let's just like go to the brewery down the street.
Yeah.
Let's just go. And yes, we could take our kid.
By down the street, she means behind her house, 2 minutes of a walk away.
Yeah. It's a really rough life I live. So I personally I like having a peaceful life.
And that's good.
As
everybody should, you know. Really. I mean, I feel like finding peace is like what you need to do, and that's different for everybody.
For sure. Like I like having a quiet home. Don't get me wrong, I do really like children. I like being around children. I think they're hilarious. I more specifically like the younger children, like babies and toddlers.
Yeah.
And Alex likes the older children. He likes whenever they can kind of be a little rough. They can take jokes. They can, they have a really cool like personality, and they're I don't know. So we like different stages of the children. So I like them. I love my niece and nephew. But yeah, I'm also okay with being like, okay, see you next time.
Yeah.
And going home.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's totally fair to feel that way. You know, I think just like to play a devil's advocate to that, like we are now nesting out into like solo land.
Yes.
Like we are in the country. We like peace and quiet. We don't really, we sound like old people. I'm sorry. But like, we don't really like to go and do anything like we do.
This is 30. I feel like it just happens, you know, 20s are a wild ride. And then 30s are like,
I lived my life
to calm
20s.
down.
Like I lived just fine. And I did the things. And,
Agreed.
You know, did that. So I feel like at this point, and my husband is on the same exact page. Like we like to go to our jobs, which are both in city centers, but we like to come back home out into the country in the cornfields, peace and quiet. But we like to hang out with our friends. But back to like the family situation, we do so much with our family that it's almost like
a lot.
All right. Like it's just nice to have like a quiet space, stay at home, breathe, walk outside. We've got a little gym set up in our garage now. Like you don't have to, I just can come here and like, it's like an oasis and a great place to hopefully start raising a family and all that stuff too. So it's like, we both really are at peace with like where we are in life, but they are opposite sides of
Yeah.
the spectrum.
And I feel like too, like going back to you saying like you're kind of nesting or settling down, you're much more like, yeah, I'm staying here. Like this is the location, maybe not in this house per se, but staying in this relative area. Meanwhile, Alex and I are like, yeah, we'll probably stay like maybe in this state, in this city for like a handful more years, but ultimately we would like to move. I would love to move to a different state, different country, anything.
She's trying to leave me.
I know.
She won't just settle down.
I won't. And I don't know. I just don't have.
Which is okay. That's why I love
you. Thanks. I just don't have that strong desire to like settle down, except like we keep doing a little bit more things that it's like keeping us a little here longer and longer. And friends are huge to keeping us here in this area too, to be quite honest, because yes, Heidi included. So friends are huge to keep us here. And you know, one of our other close friends just had a baby and they just bring her along. And Alex and I babysat her like a month ago. She was like 2 months old at the time, and so then they could go out to a dinner, and that was totally fine, no problem babysitting,
which is so nice too.
Yeah, so I have no problem like with friends having babies around us. I love being an auntie, so
good.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't have the heart to like necessarily stay in one place. I can't imagine staying here for forever or like another 10 years or so.
I know. It's funny too, because I feel like obviously we know each other so well.
Yes.
But one of our surgeons that we work with, who we love, shout out Dr. Giblin. She always like talks about like our just completely different lifestyles too. Like,
does she?
She tries to predict. She's like, yes, you're nesting. You're gonna have a kid here soon. Like waiting for this baby to pop out. I think she already thought I'd have one by now.
Oh yeah, she was very stressed that you were gonna like be pregnant a year ago, essentially. Yes. Like she was very stressed that you and our co-PA Katie would be having a baby at the same time, and I would be the sole PA.
Yes. But then she's also like
their surgery schedule.
She's like, Cassie, you know, who knows where Cassie will go? She's going to be somewhere in some state someday. But
she's already said like she's mentally preparing herself. And if I ever come in and say that I'm pregnant, like we have to have a come to Jesus moment.
Have to have a long talk.
She knows me well. And her and I are pretty, what is it? Kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Because she also is a traveler. She's also, she's never been married, but she is a go-getter, hard worker, and has never had the desire to have kids either. Like even if she were to find somebody, she never had that
drive or like
that drive
that
or
motherly
that
instinct,
that maternal instinct.
Yeah.
So we talk about it, and yeah, it's
funny.
It is funny. It's nice to find, personally for me, finding other people who are like-minded, or to see people later in life who don't have children, to kind of see what their life looks like.
Yeah.
And that's why I like finding, or like where social media is starting to bring it up more, because that has actually brought me a lot more comfort.
Yeah.
Because I don't know a lot of people, I don't know very many people in my life who chose not to have children. And who are older in life. And so that is a concern of Alex and I's, like, well, what are our 40s and 50s and 60s going to look like? Like, what are we actually going to do? Are we going to get to our 50s and regret it, or 60s and regret it? And so I don't know. I think you could find regret in any decision.
Yeah.
It's just being confident that whatever decision you make, you're like, you can make the most out of it. And so far, you know, life's good with what we've been given and what we've
Do you
created.
think that ever down the road, like if you get to that point in life that you are older, would you ever consider doing like fostering or adoption? Or you could even do like, I guess, exchange students or something.
Yeah, I've brought up to I honestly would not adopt unless, you know, heaven forbid, something happens to like family members who have children. Like Alex and I think are godparents of like all the littles in our life. So if anything ever hits Cleveland, we're getting like 4 children.
Oh no. So let's hope nothing happens to Cleveland.
Nothing happens. So we would adopt them, or like, heaven forbid anything happens to you and like your children, like would willingly, lovingly like take care of those children.
Which is good that you also have that mindset too. Like you're open enough to care for, of course, the people in your life.
Absolutely. Like I would totally be willing to do something like that. And fostering, I've brought it up to Alex. I don't know. There's good and bad sides to fostering. Maybe not a huge strong desire, but maybe we have talked about doing like the Boys and Girls Club, but always worried of like getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Like we would tend to be like gullible and like be like, and maybe this is a totally wrong way of looking at it or thinking about it, but just trying to think of the possibilities. Like, well, what if we were like, yeah, let's take them to a Reds game. Let's take them here. Let's do this with them. And then that just become like an expectation or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
also depends like how old they are too.
It depends on how old they are and their situations and everything. And so that's probably really just like more excuses than anything.
Yeah. It's more surface level,
Exactly. And so
there's so many dynamics at play too with that.
Exactly. And like the different relationships and things like that. So
yeah,
maybe eventually we would do the big brother, big sister thing. Yeah. We've definitely talked about that.
That'd
before.
Be cool.
Yeah.
I personally I don't know. If I can't have kids or something happens or, I honestly don't even know if I do IVF. Like that's a lot to go through. So I don't know. Those are hard questions and
absolutely. It's hard to know until you're like faced with it.
Yeah.
I had a co-PA who, she wanted children and she never thought she would do IVF. But then she got into the mindset of like, you start thinking about it and dreaming about it and envisioning a life with children.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, maybe if we just have the semen tested, maybe that's it. Like that's a simple fix, I think. And, or like, oh, well, maybe you just need this or that. You just need a little extra progesterone or, and then you start going down the rabbit hole and then it's like, oh, well, maybe it's a possibility. Oh, maybe these eggs will take maybe. And so you almost you can get like,
you convince yourself that this is what you want to do.
Exactly.
And I will say, I have friends who've had babies by IVF. I know people in my life who've had babies by IVF and they wouldn't trade it for the world and they love that. And that's also just like, well, I mean, we just did a recording recently with Jen Hartman and she had her baby by IVF and she literally said, I wouldn't trade her for the world. And she was worth it, although it was really expensive. And so also just gotta kind of weigh all that out too and financials and stuff. But, back to that point, like your baby would be worth an infinite amount of dollars, if you finally get that and that's really all you wanted too. So I don't know. Those are hard things.
It is hard
to think about and to talk about. And like, these are all the questions that are all so personal and what do you want to do? And what does your life want to look like? And
absolutely. And everybody has like totally different perspectives on what your life should look like and what your purpose in life should be. And our society is very much like, okay, well, you work, you're married, you have children. Like that's what you do. And so there is emerging like, no, and maybe it's like the millennials. I don't know. Like
not being defined by like just particular roles.
Kind of breaking more out of that role. And envisioning life in a different way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or being involved in like so many different things too. I feel like that's such a thing. Or it's funny. I don't even know what I was reading the other day. Something on my doom scrolls. I don't know. I was on Instagram or something, but talking about how we call these things like side hustles. Like you call them side hustles. Like if you are, but it's technically like you're working 4 jobs so we can afford to like live life as it is right now because things are so expensive.
And like,
but also in the joy of those side hustles too, though, you might find another purpose of your life. Like you might be like, oh my gosh, I do love volunteering, or not volunteering, but if you're getting paid for it, like I do love helping at this animal shelter, or I like being a barista on the side or, bartending on the weekends and just get to know people, like whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I do feel like we're we're not just like, I'm a teacher and I'm a mom and I'm a wife and that's what I do every day and go home and go to bed and start it all over. Like I do think people dog on our generation of being a millennial, but I do feel like
doing so many different things or having so many different interests. And gone are the times where you stay in a job for 30 plus years.
It's sad. I was talking to our surgeon about that too recently of like, what happened to the days though? Because it is nice to have people that do want to stay at a job for a while too, but it's also hard when like the economy is the way it is. And I don't know, we're going down a different rabbit hole, but it plays into the factor though of
for sure
family,
because it's like
kids.
we live in a big city, so things are more expensive. The cost of living is more expensive. The houses are a lot more expensive. Even like we were just talking about living out here in the country, like land is really freaking expensive.
It is.
And so that plays a role, and like kids are really expensive too.
And we both have good education. Us and our husbands are just educated. We have good jobs. And it's still a struggle out there. Like it's,
you still have to budget. You still have to like
just crazy
plan it all out. So
my naive younger self was like, I'm gonna be a PA. Life's gonna be great. I'm gonna get a new car. I'm gonna go buy this awesome house. And not that some of those things didn't happen, but like
you did do those things.
But like I thought by now I would be in like my forever home and like be
have
settling, have a Lamborghini, cruising around, be on a yacht somewhere.
Right. Jokes on us.
It's all about perspective though. I'm very happy with where I am right now in life. So I wouldn't trade this, but like you said, I am interested to see if we look back on this episode like 5 years from now and like, oh my gosh.
I agree.
We were so stupid.
We're so stupid.
Cassie will have like 4 babies by then. Just kidding.
I don't.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, I will say, used to think like, oh, I'd want like 3 kids, 2 kids, and then it's just gotten like 3 kids, 2 kids, 1 kid.
I want half a child.
None. If we had a kid, probably just 1 kid. Like maybe, one. I probably spoiled 1 kid. Yeah, but.
She'll just spoil her dog for now, and
we are that classic like millennial with the dog that's like we're obsessed with.
Yes, not too much though.
The best, though.
I've heard worse stories. I've heard worse.
Yes, we don't take him everywhere with us. I mean,
he's a good boy. He's not that spoiled.
Yeah, but he does sleep with us. It is obnoxious, but. Yeah, we're happy with where we're at, but we'll see. Life change. I totally recognize life changes. Like we said, perspective changes. And maybe down the road, I'll have a moment of like, you know what, I'm ready. Things have changed, but as of now, I'm enjoying.
That's good.
Enjoying not having the kiddos.
I'm glad.
Yes. But I'm ready for you to have kids. Ready to be.
Stay tuned.
Be an auntie. Yeah.
I am not pregnant yet that I know of. So we'll see what happens down the road.
We really jumped from a personal of just, getting to know our careers.
Yeah, we really went into this episode.
Real personal.
Like, deep. Which is okay. I want you guys to know us and kind of like where we are. This is part of being women. And I mean, thinking about life. And I do feel like as women, strong women that are out there, we are always thinking about so many things. Like we just have a different kind of makeup than men do. And it's just, my brain's always going about 1,000 different things. And my husband is just looking at me like, what's wrong with you?
Like,
but
calm down, ADHD
I feel like it's just like normal. I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of women in my life are the same way. Like, I'm, being a mom and a hustler and a career woman and this, that, and the other. Like both my sisters are that way and have been that way. And it's just,
I think there's a lot more pressure on women in general to be thinking of children, to be thinking of if they want children and when they want children. And we're on a time clock.
Yeah, these ovaries aren't going to last
men can
forever.
have children until the day they die, which is so weird.
That's crazy. Should not happen.
Yeah. Anywho, but no offense to anybody out there with.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But women's eggs run out, women's ovaries stop functioning.
Yeah.
And so it is much more of a pressure cooker to make the decision. And even up until like after 40, your risk, well, even like 35 is considered geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah, which is
and
crazy.
after 40, like your risk goes up significantly. And so, there's just a lot more pressure on women. So that's why we wanted to bring up this topic and share it, because there are options out there. And I will shout out to a podcast called Kids Are Child Free. That has been very enlightening for me. And so she has this podcaster, Kelty. She has different women on who are, they're counselors. They do this, that, and the other. They've made the decision to have kids or not have kids. She personally decided not to have kids. And so it has been actually extremely helpful to just listen to other people talk about it.
Yeah.
And bringing like more, I guess, reassurance to how I'm feeling.
I agree. And I think that's like the beauty of like doing podcasts too, is like you really get to like choose what you want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's our goal too, like with this podcast too, is of course we're going to throw in like some clinical stuff, some data things. Like obviously we work in medicine. That's a huge part of our lives, but we also are like human women. Like we're also like going through life ourselves too. And so this is like the real raw parts of life. And want you to know, like we are also right on your levels with you. And we would love to hear from you guys, like your thoughts and your perspective and what you think about everything in life and family and all of the above. Although I know a lot of the thoughts of the listeners that do listen to the show already. So, but if anybody else is out there wants to let me know, we do love hearing from you guys and everything as well too.
Yeah. Feel free to send us a message on Mindfully Woman, either Instagram or Facebook, or you could always send us an email at mindfullywomanpodcast@gmail.com. We're pretty good about responding. So give us a shout out. If you have any questions, concerns, or topic interest, then let us know. Yeah.
Well, this was wonderful.
This was wonderful. Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Until next time. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
The information that you hear on this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice. As always, please seek out personal care and advice from your medical team.